If you love the look of vellum on a card, just wait until you see embossed vellum. What a beautiful accent embossed vellum can add to a card. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you're here for another Tuesday tip. We're going to be talking techniques today. We're going to be embossing on vellum. You guys are going to love the look, so let's go get started. I've got two cards to share with you today. We're going to start with the birthday card. So let me set this one off to the side, and I'm going to bring in all the supplies that we need. Don't worry about writing down the measurements because I've got a free download that goes along with my video today. So in this free download, you're going to have the photos, the measurements, the supply list. There's a QR code you can click or scan to go watch the video again. And here are all the supplies I used. Click this picture. It will take you directly to my online store. If you're in the United States, I'd love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And where can you find this free download? You can find it at SimplySimpleStamping.com, or just look down in the YouTube description. I've got a direct link to today's post. I'm going to start with a piece of fresh freesia cardstock. This is cut 5.5 by 8.5 with the score in the middle at 4 1/4. I've got two pieces of Highland Heather. These are 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Two pieces of basic white, 3 3/4 by 5. And also you're going to need just a little square. This is about a 2.5 by 2.5. And the last thing we're going to need is a vellum circle. And this, I have used the 2-inch circle, but you can use your dies, your punches, whatever you want. And really whatever size you want. You don't have circles, you could make these squares instead. So feel free to get creative. I just loved the look of the circle. Now when it comes to vellum, you have options. So here, this is where I punched my circles. This is vellum cardstock. It's a really nice thick cardstock. I love using this, but Stampin' Up! Also carries specialty vellum. And you notice here we've got stripes, we've got polka dots, we've got leaves. This technique will work beautiful on your specialty vellum as well. We're also going to add just a little ribbon knot, and this is the silver and white ribbon. And guys, the last thing you're going to need is just a little scrap piece of copy paper. This can be junk mail or, anything. Don't stress over it, but just copy paper. Well, let's get started on that embossed vellum. So I'm going to be using an embossing folder from the Basics 3D collection. There's 3 in this one, and I'm going to use this one with a nice little crosshatch on it. I'm now going to bring in my copy paper and my vellum circle. We'll just put that right there on top. This piece of copy paper is going to kind of help keep the embossing folder from breaking that vellum, all right? So it's just kind of acting as a little bit of a buffer. I'm going to bring in base plate 1. I'll bring in that embossing folder and then embossing plate 4. Let's run this through. And let's check out our magic. So there is my copy paper, which I will use again. But can you see how that vellum now just burst with white? It really is a beautiful technique. With that, let's get to stamping that fun card. This card is going to feature the textured floral stamp set, and I've got some beautiful colors to go along with this one. Fresh freesia, Highland Heather, gorgeous grape, and granny apple green. We're going to begin with the front focal image here. I'm going to start with a Highland Heather ink pad, and we are going to stamp these 2 flowers here in the corners. I've got some scratch paper underneath me, just kind of make sure that as I'm going off, I'm not getting ink on the table. And we're actually going to repeat this same stamping on the inside of my card. So I'm going to go ahead and get that inside stamped. Next, I'll come in with the gorgeous grape. We're going to give these flowers a little accent. It just gives a really nice burst of more of that gorgeous purple. I guess that's why they're calling it gorgeous grape. And since I've got the gorgeous grape out, I'm going to stamp right here in the center of that 2.5 by 2.5, stamp my sentiment, birthday blooms for you. We're now going to bring in the fresh freesia. We're going to add some more flowers. And we're going to add these just right around the edges of our other flowers. Let's repeat that here. And now just a little bit more around my sentiment. Okay, let's add that little zhuzh to these flowers. And we'll do that with the Highland Heather. So you see that gives a really nice burst of color here. Now we're going to bring in a little Granny Apple Green. Now this is where these two pieces are going to be a little bit different, all right? So we'll use this one for the inside. And let me just kind of show you. We're just going to kind of hit the edges. I want to have plenty of room to write my message. So this is really just going to kind of be just a little accent here, all right? Just to give it a little something. So that's for the inside of my card. Now this one for the front, we're going to bring this right here in the middle of the Highland Heather flower. Don't worry, we'll be covering up some of that. And you know what? Let's add just a little bit here to our sentiment. Not a lot, just a little touch. All right, guys. With that, guess what? Our stamping is all done. So I'm going to bring in the 2-inch circle punch. Again, remember I said you could use your dies as well. We're going to give our sentiment a little punch. Then we're going to take our Highland Heather, just one, and we're going to punch one more circle from the middle of that. Now this one is for the front of my card. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my front image, and it's got a nice little thin border. And we'll go ahead and add this to the front of our card. Let's go ahead and take our remaining Highland Heather. We'll add that to the inside of our card, and now our message area. Okay, so we have all of this done. Now we're going to get creative with our circles. So of course we have our stamped sentiment, we have that gorgeous embossed vellum, and we have our circle of Highland Heather. This is optional, but I do want you to see I went ahead and ran this one through my embossing folder as well. So with this one, there's no need to add that paper because cardstock is so much hardier than your vellum. So I'm going to recommend that you kind of lay out your circles, kind of get a feel for where you're going to want them. I've got Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my sentiment, but I think I'm really good there. So I'm going to start with the Highland Heather, and I'll adhere that lightly right there. That way if I want to move it, I can. Now for my vellum, I'm actually going to use multi-purpose glue because it's a little bit thinner. Now, I'm going to do something really crazy. I'm just going to kind of spread that around, okay? It really does help. I want that to be invisible. It adheres great, but I don't want any of that glue to shine through. Now I can take my sentiment with the dimensionals. We'll put that about there. I think I'm happy with that. Now we're just simply going to add a little ribbon knot, and I will simply press the center of my knot onto a mini glue dot. Add that right there. And friends, what a beautiful card, but I really think it's that gorgeous vellum circle that is embossed that really makes this card a wow. Don't forget about that free download I have for you. It has all the measurements, supplies, everything you need for the video. You'll find it at simplysimplestamping.com or look down in the YouTube description for a direct link. All right, let's go on to card number 2. This one was a lot of fun because I love any kind of card that has fruit. It's one of my favorite things. And this card features the Blueberry Bunches stamp set. And we're going to do a little fun technique on this one today. My cardstock measurements are exactly the same. The only thing that changed are the colors, and I'm shaking things up today. I'm going to be using Afternoon Azure as my card base. Yes, not Blueberry Bushel, little Afternoon Azure, and then I've got some Lemon Lime Twist, and of course our basic white and our vellum circle. So for today's coloring, I want to show you two different techniques. I'm going to show you how to do it with your Stampin' Write markers or with your Stampin' Blends. So if you're going to be using Stampin' Blends, you need your Afternoon Azure and your Lemon Lime Twist. But if you want to use your markers, we're going to get a little creative. So I have got Blueberry Bushel and Afternoon Azure and Lemon Lime Twist and Granny Apple. So are you ready? I'll tell you what, for the outside of our card, we will use our Stampin' Blends, and for the inside, I'll show you how to do it with your markers. We're going to begin with a Memento Black ink pad, and we're going to take this fabulous cluster of blueberries. And so this one, the first one I'm going to do, this is for the outside of the card. So I really want a lot of this to show. So I'm going to kind of bring it down into the card. Yeah, we're going to be covering things up there, but we will stamp another set of blueberries right down here. All right, now for the inside of the card, we are going to stamp just a little further back, okay? Remember, we want to have room for that message. So we'll just stamp just a little bit, okay? We don't want to take up too much space. So you can see that one will be just a little bit smaller. So we're going to begin with the blends, and I'm going to take the dark Afternoon Azure, and I'm just going to color in just the little caps. And you know, I know someone has told me what these are called. They had a really unique name, and now of course I cannot think of it, but really I think what it is, it's the flower of the blueberry. So again, remember, I'm doing this in the dark. Now I'm going to come along and I'm just going to draw inside the blueberry with the dark. I'm just going to draw a circle. Okay, so I'm just basically outlining it. And you know, neatness really doesn't count here, because when we're using blends, all these colors will blend together and be really pretty and soft. And now I'll come in with the light, and I'm just going to go over the dark, and it's just going to kind of pick up that ink. That alcohol will pick up that dark, and we are going to get a different color blueberry. I know the Blueberry Bushel, it's a beautiful color. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful color, but I just wanted to kind of see what else I could do. And my Afternoon Azure was needing a little love, and I'm really glad I chose it. I love how it looks. Now, because of how alcohol markers blend, right, I'm going to come back over the flowers of the blueberry one more time, again, just to kind of deepen them. See, it just kind of makes that get just a little bit richer in color. And now for the leaves, I'm really just going to kind of use my dark marker and just sort of draw some lines. In fact, I think I'll just color that one in. Just kind of go along some of the lines that the artist at Stampin' Up! That they've added for you. And now we can come in with the light and blend, blend, blend. All right, it's going to look something like that. Let me go ahead and get my final set of leaves here, and then we'll move on to using the markers instead. So now let's talk about using the markers. So I'm going to kind of create my own little two-tone here. And for this, though, I do want to always start with my lightest color. So that's going to be my Lemon Lime Twist. And so I'm going to color in, just use the brush tip and paint is what I like to say. Paint your color onto, ooh, I just have a little bit of leaf showing here. So we'll add the Lemon Lime Twist, and now with the Granny Apple Green, we're just going to lightly just kind of draw some of these highlights. And I gotta tell you, the blueberries, it just really couldn't be any easier. We're gonna use the Afternoon Azure, and we'll color in all the blueberries. And to be honest, it really was not a problem that I colored in the flowers of the blueberry, because we can just go right over those. So I want you to kind of see the difference in the two. So Stampin' Blends here, Stampin' Write markers here, but I want you to know that you have choices. All right, friends, let's put this card together. You remember for our first one, before we go and adhere that down, we want to punch a 2-inch circle from the center. We'll adhere our cardstock on top and then to the front of our card. And our remaining piece we'll add there on the inside. All right, it's time to do our magic again. I'm going to change up the embossing folder. It's still from the Basics 3D, but this one had, well, you know what? These little stars kind of reminded me of the flowers on the berries. So I thought, yep, we're going to go for that. I can take that same piece of the copy paper, lay my, my vellum circle there. I'm going to go ahead and add my lemon lime twist one as well. Let's go ahead. We'll run all these through our machine and our magic beautiful vellum once again. I just realized I had not stamped my front circle, so we're going to stamp a little hello there and a little bit of blueberry there and a little bit of blueberry there. And I did change up the circle punch. I'm using the 1 3/4 inch circle punch for this one. And you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and punch it first. That way I have a little less coloring to do. So just like before, we'll kind of lay out our pieces. So we kind of see, I don't want to cover up too much of my blueberries. I worked so hard on them. All right, I can adhere that one down. Remember the technique. Just a little bit of multi-purpose glue, spread it around, add it right there to your card. No one will see that. We'll add the sentiment with the Stampin' Dimensionals and, of course, a mini glue dot right there. And there we go. There is, remember we used Stampin' Write markers or blends. You have a choice. And there you go, my friends, a very unique and fun way to use your vellum in a unique way. Just run it through your embossing folder and give it a really beautiful look. I hope that you enjoyed today's technique. If you did, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? I always appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, take a moment to click that big subscribe button and YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with another video. Have a great day, my friends. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.